So I was co-working with a friend and she just got really frustrated with ChatGPT. She had this big work task, 80 different research sites and buildings. So this is what she did. She attached this giant Excel spreadsheet into ChatGPT and she basically just said, hey, figure it out. And so surely enough, the model comes back with a response that's like, yeah, you should categorize this by large, medium, small, and other. And it's like, dude, I'm gonna use an other model because your response sucks. My friend was asking the AI to do 3 different tasks at once. Like in one prompt, she was basically saying, hey, go define the categories, organize them by category, and analyze the data for insights. That's just so vague. She got ambiguous nonsense. And before jumping into the actual solution, I just asked her a ton of questions. I was asking her, okay, if you had to do this by hand, like what would be the categories that you would sort these research sites and buildings by? I had no idea because I'm not like a research kind of expert. She was the domain expert. But here's the thing, like when I asked her such a basic question, she just went on and on about how she would go about this. And I was like, dude, I don't really know what you're saying, but you are really knowledgeable about these research sites. Like, did you think to share that with the AI? I just had her put into the prompt exactly what she told me, which is like a brain dump of thinking about maybe we should categorize them by size, geography, like which one do you think is the best? And here's the thing, you don't need to accept the first answer the LLM provides. You can start interrogating it, having it back and forth, and then decide on the best solution. And so I asked my friend, okay, now that we've broken it down, what is the actual criteria that you would look at for each of these sizes? Because, you can't really compare a small site to a large site. There's different nuances between them, and I'm sure there's different pros and cons to working with each one. And after a couple rounds of just back and forth and playing devil's advocate, we eventually converged on, hey, this is the rubric that we can use to evaluate large sites versus small sites. If you had one giant rubric for all of these different sites, it's just gonna flatten the data. One example I can give you about the differences is that for large sites, they typically look at things like regulatory standing, compliance. And for smaller sites, they might look at things like, hey, how much runway or budget does this site have? Now remember this, none of the data changed. It's this exact same data that she passed in initially, just, we're giving it more context and helping it understand what specifically to look for if it's like a large site versus a small site. So you're gonna tell it, hey, these are the categories I want you to use, and these are the rubrics and criteria for each of these categories and what they mean. Instead of just asking it to do the labeling and the rationale and analysis in like one prompt, we broke it down even further. I had her start by asking the AI to label the sites by size and then just hand check like, hey, does this look correct? And when she actually audited the results, it was a lot better than what she had it before, because now the LLM actually knows what to look for when identifying a large site. It's not making a guess anymore because you actually provided it the context it needs to do a good job. After she was able to audit the data and really trust that the labeling was working correctly, she was then able to ask the AI to evaluate each of these different sites by the customized rubric and criteria for the actual size. So here's what just happened. My friend pasted in this large document with 80 research sites and got frustrated with ChatGPT when it gave it garbage. And so we took this exact same task and broke it down step by step, analyzing the data with all the context and understanding that we've built along the way. And yeah, it did take like a lot more steps than just trying to one-shot it, but the results were night and day. And here's the thing, this is an example about research sites, but so many problems in AI use the same shape. Cybersecurity vendors or something. Maybe you're doing customer segmentation and trying to figure out which leads in your CRM to prioritize. One, slice up your giant task into digestible categories. Number 2, make sure you understand what the categories actually mean and how you would evaluate or review them based on each category, and you want to make sure you capture the nuances between them. And then finally, number 3, the analysis step, where now that you've established this common understanding and language between you and the AI model, you can then ask it to score the data, you can ask it to analyze, and most importantly, you have a definition of good, which is the rubrics that we've created along the way. And everything that we did today This is called context management. It's really just figuring out what information is helpful to pass into the AI and what is not. It's the same thing that you would do when training a new hire. Okay, so in my next video, I'm gonna talk more about context management and the features and techniques that you can use inside of ChatGPT and Claude in order to get better results and better manage your